Okay, are you ready, Rock?
I'm so ready.
All right, so this is our
Oscars wrapped.
Oh, I was wondering where you're gonna go with that. All right,
This is our Oscars wrap.
We're gonna review our picks for a couple of the Oscars categories. We're gonna talk about the Best Picture nominees, what we predicted, and what actually won, and the order of that we would place our Best Picture ballots. I also want to say that we're giving our own opinions and talking our own trash. If you disagree or you like this movie, no disrespect to you.
Yeah.
Everyone's allowed to have their own opinions. These are just our opinions and what we perceived.
Yeah.
And if you want to convince us of something different, feel free.
Yeah.
Feel free to reach out and send us your thoughts.
Letterbox profile.
Yeah, hit us with that letterbox, baby. So, first let's just give a quick review of when we watched the Oscars. I got 6.5 right. I don't know how I got the half point. We calculated that somehow. The only ones I got right were cinematography, documentary, short film, never seen it. International short film, hadn't seen it. Makeup and hairstyling.
I think we gave a half point
sound.
because you picked for original song a song from Amelia Perez, but not the right song.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And then they had the most cringy acceptance speech, but we'll get to that.
You won every other category essentially.
Yeah, I got 10 right.
You got 10 right? That's impressive.
Thank you.
To be fair, we hadn't seen, I'd say 50% of the movies. More than that, maybe.
At that point?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, actually.
More like a lot more than 50%. We hadn't seen a lot of them. Now that we've seen all the Best Picture nominees, we're going to give our rankings. But just looking over the ballot list first, was there any that, like, now that you've seen them, or just that one that you were like, I'm really glad that won, or any of that you were like, something else should have won?
Yes. So, actress in leading role.
Hit me.
I'm not mad that Zoe Saldana won, and we'll get to that.
Quick pause.
Oh.
You mean actress in a supporting role? Because Mikey Madison won for actress in a leading role.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm talking about actress in a supporting role.
Zoe Saldana won.
Right.
But you thought that.
I thought the girl from A Complete Unknown was going to win, and that was back when we hadn't seen all these. Now, I remember thinking my second vote would have been Ariana Grande. Mm-hmm. Now that we've seen everything, Ariana Grande. I truly believe she should have won it. And again, I know we'll get to this later.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think she deserved it. But I'm not that mad because it's impressive how into Amelia Perez Zoe was acting. So I'll give her credit for that. Not a great movie, but she was acting the whole time. Yeah. So,
but you would have picked
Ariana Grande.
I did predict Ariana Grande to win it. We hadn't seen Wicked yet, but I still picked it and thought it's got to be her, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. After seeing Felicity Jones in The Brutalist, I might have picked her. She was good in it. The movie overall, unsatisfactory, but I didn't think she had this character in her, knowing her from other things. So she was really good in that. Well, first of all, I'm glad that Dune Part 2 won, at least for sound.
Yeah, I was
that
just looking
made
at
me
that.
happy, and that definitely should have. Definitely should have won. And I'm really glad that Honora won for directing. That was coming from an independent film and a movie with not that big of a budget. The fact that he pulled off what he did, Sean Baker, he 100% deserved that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wish that Dune 2 was nominated for original score. But I think that was the one where it couldn't because it so much of it was based on the one Dune Part 1.
Oh.
So it was eliminated from the running.
Interesting.
So that was tough. The one that I most disagreed with, actress in a supporting role, I agree with you on. The one that made me mad was actor in a leading role.
That was the next one I was going to say.
That was the one that I was just like,
Yep.
Out of all of the people that were nominated, I would have gone with Ralph Fiennes.
That was my guess when we watched it.
Yeah, he was like just like he was so convincing in that character, and just like thinking about the past body of work that he's been in, like being Voldemort. We saw him in The Menu. We saw him in the James Bond. All those are just like such different roles, and this was like another tough one that he just nailed. He was really good in that. So I wish that he would have won that. But if it was up to any of my picks, like I could do anyone, not just what was nominated, should have been Timothée Chalamet for Dune 2, not for Complete Unknown.
Yeah, that's interesting. Would it have been allowed for him to be nominated for both?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. Yeah, I would have.
I think so.
I still would pick him from A Complete Unknown over Adrian Brody, and that's only because I have beef with them using AI for his accent.
Yeah.
Because then, how much of it was acting? Yeah. I don't know.
No, that's fair. Okay. Any other ones that you want to shine a spotlight on? What one for production design? I can't remember. I put Dune Part 2, but it didn't. I
put Wicked, but I thought Conclave won.
Oh, you're right. That's what it was.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is the most ironic one. Not that it's undeserved, but it's just all those are real places and real things. The costuming and the set design is
okay.
But I mean, maybe it's very impressive that they replicated it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Substance won for makeup and hairstyling, which was well deserved as well.
Yeah.
That was like that was wild.
That's the only one we'll give them.
Well, yeah, okay.
It was a good movie for people who are into
people who like that.
makeup and special effects.
Yeah. Okay. We'll get to that as well. The Brutalist won for cinematography, which.
How do you feel?
Seeing it, I was impressed. I still would have gone with Dune Part 2. But I had actually guessed Brutalist and got it right, just based off of what I pictured, like what I figured they would go with.
I'd guess Dune.
And I was surprised Nosferatu was in there, and I'm bummed that Emilia Perez was in there. I did not think that the cinematography in that.
Really?
I thought it was a hindrance, if anything. So that's tough to see.
The cinematography of Emilia Perez looked like the cinematography of. Did you ever get those DVDs from the like $1 to $2 bin at Walmart?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks like one of those. Like you would just pick this random $1 movie from like another country, and you're like, I can't really see anything, but it was free. It was almost free.
Okay, let's do this.
Get to our list.
Let's get to our list. Let's start from the bottom up
first.
And okay. Let's give our picks, why we picked the movie we did, and then we'll go from the bottom up to where we picked. Does that make sense?
Repeat that, please.
So I'll talk about my pick, why I thought it deserved to win.
You'll talk about number one.
Yeah.
Okay.
What I had predicted.
Okay.
Because what you predicted and what I predicted were our number ones, correct? Let's talk about our number ones, then we'll go from the bottom down. And once we both have said it, then we'll give our takes on it. Does that make sense? So like if I say one that you haven't said yet from bottom down, then we'll talk about it. Does that make sense?
When you say bottom down, you mean start with your worst one.
Correct.
Cool.
Do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
Your top pick was
Dune,
I guess it Dune
Part
2.
We just watched part of it to review because it's been
a minute.
Months.
I guess that was the first one we saw on the list.
Yeah. It was the only one for a while. It was like 3 hours, and we saw it in theaters. I saw it twice, and I am so glad that I saw it in theaters because it's like, I think arguably one of the greatest. I think it is arguably the greatest sci-fi epic that I could see in theaters. And it just felt like it was made for that. Like it was born to be experienced in a bone-rattling sound cage.
Wow. Good review.
And my first thought was, after the credits rolled, was even in futuristic out of space, men ain't shit. That is really the core of the movie is that he, if you haven't seen it, betrays not betrays. He ends up marrying the princess and not the girl that he had been with the whole movie.
Which isn't, it's not that big of a deal, except for the fact that all of it is in her face.
Yeah, and it serves the story in a way that's just like, oof.
Yeah,
like,
that's where the drama is
but
really coming in.
Timothée Chalamet is excellent in it. Hans Zimmer did an excellent job with the score. Denis Villeneuve should have won for a lot of movies that he's done, but especially for this. And I think that there's not a lot of movies that the second one is better than the first or does the first one justice, but this is one of the only exceptions that I think. The first one is really good, and then the second one builds on and does even better all the things that the first one sort of set the groundwork for. So it's a star-studded cast. I mean, Austin Butler's really good in it. Florence is really good in it. So it's like it even could have won for best ensemble. But it just, it was definitely the one that I walked away from like, man, I love film the most. Out of all of them, like they were all like, not all of them, but most of them I was like, man, like I could see why that one, I could see why people would like that. And it's a good journey. I had a fun time. I was entertained and I was sucked into the story. Dune Part 2, I was like, I am going to be thinking about this for months. So Dune Part 2 is my pick. Wow. What's yours?
My number one is different.
Yours is...
the way you explained why Dune was your favorite is very similar to why I picked this one.
Yours is...
Annie. Anora. Anora was my number one. And I did shed some tears when Mikey Madison won for Best Actress and when Anora won for Best Picture. We had done a discussion post Anora, and I was processing it for a while. Like, I was like, man, I can't tell if I loved or hated it. I can't tell if I agree with this, if I agree with this, if I would have done this way. And I can appreciate a film that I continually think about, like the way you said about Dune, like kept thinking about it when you walked out. And like, I feel like even though the story in Anora is pretty tragic, like there's so much movie magic in this one. Like, I don't know how to explain it, because I remember one of my critiques when we left seeing it, one of the first things I said was like, it felt like cheap, like the way they filmed it. And now that I've seen it again, it's like, no, like that part was intentional about that. And just even, I appreciate more the opening shot, how it's kind of like documentary style, how Sean Baker kind of throws that in there. The way he kind of focuses in on certain faces. So yeah, there was just a lot of things where once I saw it again, I was like, that felt like magic. And I can't explain why, because it's not like Wicked, where it's in this crazy fantasy world. It wasn't like Dune, where there was this like these gorgeous warm colors. But I think the story just really pulled me in. I kept thinking about it. There was a lot you could learn that wasn't said. And yeah, I just love a movie that sticks with you.
It's definitely one of the articles that I looked at afterwards said it's a movie that's greater than the sum of its parts, which I think was a really fair assessment. Like,
yeah,
it when you pitch it and when you like, I bet if you read through it or like were to tell someone about it, it's not like jumps off the page really, but seeing it and experiencing it and just like not as like this is a hero's journey or this is just the story of like a girl. All of a sudden it becomes a lot more entertaining and a lot more interesting and captivating, I think. Yeah.
And I want to say too, this was my number one pick. I would not recommend this film to everyone. I think there's a lot of reasons it would be really difficult to watch, whether it's the nudity or the sex shots or even just like the story. Like, again, there's so much that's unsaid about Anora's character, who is a sex worker. But I think if you've ever known someone with that experience, or if you have had that experience, there's just certain things that can be a little difficult for you to watch. And so even though it was my number one pick, I'm aware this isn't like, oh, this is the greatest film of all time. But I really appreciated Sean Baker's storytelling, and I loved Mikey Madison in this. I was so impressed with. She went from being a girl on fire once upon a time in Hollywood to totally different character.
Yeah. The career path is wild. And I think it's a good movie to hold conversations about. Like I'm sure that there's a lot of people that went home like, why do you think this happened?
Yeah.
What was this?
Yeah.
The ending scene in particular is wildly open-ended, and we can talk about it more once we get through the rest of them, but I want to hear what you thought of it. And then the two questions I think we should answer about at least some of these films, or we could go through all 9 of them and answer, is one, the question that we heard from the Redemption Forum a while ago, which is if movies are prayers, what is this movie praying, or what is it saying about the world?
And what they mean by that question is, if movies are a prayer, they're saying either this is the world that we believe we're in right now, or this is the world we'd like to see. Yeah.
And then the second one I think we should also do is like just a general, where do you see, what parts of the biblical story, or what parts of, the redemptive story do you see in this? Or just, is there a Christ-like storyline? Like, is there a Christ figure in this? And
or
sort
the
of
antithesis.
Or the antithesis. Yeah, exactly. So we'll start from the bottom down, and these will kind of be quick. And then as we get to the top, we can talk more about them. But I'm assuming that we both had the same last one.
You should talk about Brutalist first then.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. I saw Brutalist.
It was the only one I did not, and I'm not mad I didn't
see
it. So
it was to be fair, it was my number 9.
It was your what, sorry?
My number 9. Not my last, my second last. 3.5 hours long. There's a 15-minute intermission in theaters, which I think was needed. Yeah. Was like, if there's anything I won't criticize, it's the intermission. If you took parts of this movie and pieced them together, I might be like if the editor had done a longer job and like really cut this movie down and they had killed a lot of stuff, I would have felt differently. It did not, off the bat, it didn't deserve to be 3.5 hours. It didn't, it was hard to keep my attention for that long. And I'm somebody who's willing to go see a 3-hour movie. It just wasn't captivating enough to justify that. And then secondly, I think it would have been a lot more impactful to me knowing that it was a true story, but it's not. It's not even based on like a real person or true events. Like it would feel different if this was, hey, this is a testament and a witness to the struggles of an immigrant in this time period, but it's not. It covers the story of a immigrant who comes to New York in the I don't even remember what time period it was, 20s, 30s. Again, it's hard to say because it wasn't. It's hard to say that it was a real witness to somebody's experience because it's not a true story. I'm sure that there are things that have happened that are similar, but like, it just wasn't like they didn't connect it to that. But the story and the arc that the character goes through is really heartbreaking in some scenes, but then in other scenes it's frustrating, and he's not this hero character. I didn't feel like he was this. He wasn't like you were rooting for him to succeed because you loved him. You were just rooting for him because he was the main character. And there were just parts that felt out of the blue, felt like that. It really did feel like, okay, that could have been cut. And then there were parts that were like, this is dazzling. I thought the opening was fantastic, where it's this, he's walking and you're hearing this letter and you're sort of getting into his world of entering America. And then it's the Statue of Liberty upside down. And it's sort of this feeling of disorientation, but brand new experience. And I don't know, he was really good for spurts, but it just wasn't. 60% of the movie he was just okay. So I was unimpressed. I did think the editing, like in terms of kind of shot choices and like the pace of it was slow, but then there were moments where I was like, wow, that's a cool point about this character. Or I'm surprised that you showed coverage of this character. Yeah, and it's sort of heartbreaking for not like, if it was a true story, again, I'd be like, wow, my heart really breaks for this person. I'd be really impacted.
Yeah.
But then it just didn't feel justified.
Yeah, that's hard when you make a film like so packed in with tragedy and heartbreak. It's like, is this making me want to like point my attention to like a real issue that has happened in history or is happening right now? But if they're just making it a tragic story, like what's like, I don't know, what's the purpose of the story?
Yeah. And to answer the question, I think like it's sort of shining a light on the struggles that a lot of immigrant families go through. Just a real misunderstanding of their experience, and a real mistreatment, I think, by a certain upper class to immigrants. Specifically, the movie revolves around his experience with like a pretty rich guy who wants him to build something. And just how a lot of things don't translate over when you're in a working relationship that's cross-cultural. So I would say, like, in terms of what this movie's saying about the world, it's shining a light and trying to bring about more understanding, which is good. It just, again, it's not, it would have felt a lot more different if it was a true story, and it just isn't. And then, you know, where do we see the biblical story in it? It's really hard because he's, at the end of the movie, he decides to move back to Israel with his wife after she goes through these enormous health struggles, and he almost like kills her essentially, like putting her through this, and then he decides like, I would follow you anywhere. And it's like, that was really like, that's a really great commitment now.
Yeah.
But like,
3.5 hours later,
this whole movie is like, oh man, like just focus on that. Just make better decisions for your family. And that's not the whole movie. Like he comes to America and he's trying to work and get money to send to his family and to send to his wife and his niece to be able to get them to America. But then once they're in America, it's like, oh buddy, like you got to stop. You got to make better decisions. So yeah, I did think the architecture was really cool too, but other than that, I was unimpressed. So that was Brutalist.
Interestingly enough, I think our number 10
Is
worst movie was maybe more entertaining than that.
Yeah.
This number 10 choice was just, it was a fun experience.
Number 10 is Emilia
Perez.
You did that pretty good. We did have a lot of fun watching this. And we had partially made a drinking game out of it.
We had to.
We'd heard a lot of negative reviews about this.
Yes.
Yeah, what was your review of it?
I was hating from the get-go, and to be fair, part of the reason I was hating, I know this isn't fair, which is why I'm glad we did watch it, so we had a valid reason. One, I was already suspicious that like this French man was making a movie about the transgender experience and involving like a Mexican like drug lord. And so it just felt very like, this isn't based off like a musical. Like you're creating this kind of out of thin air and I don't know where you're getting this from. So I already was skeptical about that. But then they put a really bad taste in my mouth at the Oscars. Like one of my least favorite moments of that night was when they won for best song. Do you remember, like, the people
them singing it?
They went up there and they already were taking too long, and they're trying to play them out, and they start singing them, and I was like, I don't like you. Like, this is really bothering me.
The music in it was
so bad.
Not just unimpressive. It wasn't good. Like, it was hard to watch.
And they won for best original song.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It did feel like a political pick.
You know, I wonder if the songs actually were good and we just had all bad singers. I wonder if they would have sounded different.
That's fair. The singing of it, I thought Zoe Saldana was okay and Selena Gomez was okay. Other than that, like, the talent wasn't there.
Yeah.
And every song started from talking and then they went into singing rhythmically, sort of just fell in a groove, and then sort of fell into singing. But then they never really got there. Like, some of the songs were just
talking really fast,
sort of a general talk
with music in the background.
Yeah, to like a sort of a beat.
Well, like, for example,
and the opening scenes, I thought the color grading, I was like, this looks like a made for DVD action movie. It really looked like cheaply color graded. And then there were some sets and some songs that were supposed to be moving like a musical, but just looked, I think because they had sort of set this, the movie was like sort of not alternate reality, but there were scenes that lived outside of the real world. There was pauses in reality where characters would give a monologue and things that would happen that were trying to tell the emotion of the character, not like a realistic depiction. None of them, I felt like none of them fell through.
Yeah.
All of them were like in poor taste.
Yeah. And I think one of the most frustrating things about the film was, like how you said, like, maybe it was a political pick. I feel like people who, I don't know if the people who like nominate for awards and all that actually watch this, because I feel like if you hear the synopsis of this film, it sounds interesting. Like, the story is kind of wild and not really something we've seen done like that. But if you actually watch it, like, if it is a political pick, like, hey, like, we don't have a narrative like this about the transgender experience, it doesn't make that community look good. It like very much villainizes them. And I think, I don't know what the director's goal was with like the Mexican culture of the film, but they also made Mexican culture look bad. Like, I feel like every group they tried representing, it made them look like very stereotyped and very bad. Yeah.
And I think if it wasn't a musical and it wasn't heralded sort of as a really important story to tell, I would have felt differently, because it would have been entertaining as a drama.
Yes.
As like a, hey, here's a wild story.
Yeah.
There's no good guys. There's no bad guys. Like, it's just these characters that interact. Here's a pretty insane plot that happens, and you just get to go along for the ride.
Yeah.
That would have been a fun storytelling movie experience. But then there was this overlay of music that didn't feel necessary and didn't feel right to the story.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, like the Oscars and a lot of the what do you call it? The PR that was done for the film and the publication of it was very much like, this is a story that needs to be told.
It made it sound very serious.
And again, I was just like, it wasn't needed.
Yeah. The music made it all feel like a bit.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't take it seriously. Like, it made everything feel like actually? Like, are you real?
We turned on maybe this is the sign of a good movie. I don't know. We turned on the making of, like, a little documentary that they have on Netflix right after. Yeah. Not because I felt like I needed, like, I was like fascinated and would love to know how. I was more so like, did I really just watch that? Are they serious? Like, is this, what was the point of this? Like, where were they coming from? I wanted to know if this was what the directors and creators had intended. Yeah. Because it didn't feel like it was made well.
Yeah, I don't know. But props to them for having like 10 sponsors in the beginning of the film.
Yeah. That was the longest opening credits I've seen.
Take a shot for every opening credit logo.
And yeah, that's the thing. Not every movie needs this, but I think a lot of them do, in that you need a character that you care about and that you want to see succeed, or you want to see them achieve something. And I wasn't understanding the characters' motives.
Yeah.
Didn't understand any of the characters' motives. Yeah. So I couldn't really get behind any of them.
Yeah, I think the one we had the biggest critique about was Zoe Saldana's character, because she is the lawyer involved in this whole plot. And she goes from singing a song about how like rich people are getting away with crimes. And so it kind of feels like, oh, like is she trying to like change things? But then she helps like defend like a rich person who committed a crime. And then later it's like all about money, and she'll do things for a bunch of money. And it's like, okay, what's your goal here? Like it just feels very back and forth, and you can't get a read on her actual motives.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't understand it. Okay. I don't know if I didn't really see much of a biblical story in it, if I'm honest.
No.
It was a lot of characters motivated by things that were sort of self-serving.
Yes.
And that's like a lot. That's like
it was like characters. Everyone.
And so, yeah, I wasn't. Again, I didn't take much from it.
Yeah. It was just a bad movie.
We did walk away with a bit that if somebody smells, you did this to me the other day. You smell like my papa.
Oh my gosh.
You smell like.
Well, now you're gonna make them go watch it to find the part.
It was funny. Okay. Let's go to our next movie.
All right.
I
feel like we might have the same one again.
What's your number?
Oh wait, Brutalist was your 9.
Brutalist was my 9, yeah. So what's your number 9?
I think my 9 is your 8. Are you ready?
Really? Okay. What's your 8?
3?
What's your 9? Sorry. You say your 9. Your 9 is
The Substance.
Not my number 9. Okay. So we're gonna hold till we both say it.
I thought Brutalist was your 9.
Brutalist was my 9, but it's not my 8 either.
Okay.
My number 8 is A Complete Unknown.
Oh.
Your number 8 is
Complete Unknown.
Okay, there we go. So we both got it. Okay, so your number 8 is my number 8 as well.
Yeah.
Why? Man, okay, so
we're because it's boring.
Why did it come in at 8?
It was boring. Uh-huh. Out of all these films, like there are films on here I didn't like, but at least I thought about them. Mm-hmm. Complete Unknown is a complete unknown. Nothing stood out to me. Nothing was all that special. My favorite part of the whole film was just anytime Joan Baez was on the screen. And that was just because she's like stunning and can sing. And she seemed really cool. I don't remember anything. Yeah, it was just pretty boring. We talked about this like going into it. I was trying to be open-minded because one, I already don't like biopics, but I usually don't like them because if it's like a celebrity I really admire, like biopics feel like they can be kind of a flop. And with this, I was like, well, it's about Bob Dylan and I don't know a lot about him to begin with. And so I think I might be able to just appreciate it for the film. I went into it not really knowing anything about Bob Dylan and I left not really caring for him either. So I feel like that's not a sign of a great biopic, but yeah, it's just kind of boring.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's fair. I will say, I think the sign of a great biopic is that it like is true to what actually happened.
Yeah.
And it like shows a story of this person. And I think it
did. It was realistic, yeah.
But maybe this is more of a gripe with Bob Dylan than it is with the movie. I didn't walk away from the movie going like, wow.
Yeah.
That was great. It was like, yeah, that was weird.
Well,
he's not a compelling character. I don't think maybe this will get some hate. I don't think he deserved to have like a real big biopic.
He didn't deserve Timothy Chalamet.
You know, Timothy, like
Timothy killed it.
He did great. I think
he followed the assignment.
From what I understand and from what I perceive of Bob Dylan and my knowledge of him, he was awesome. Like Timothy did a really good impression. It's just there wasn't a lot of substance behind the story.
Right. And I think too with biopics, I agree with you. Like you want it to be true to the story, but also I was just wondering like the why now? Like why make this film now? And I feel like there were elements they could have honed in on that could have been really interesting. Like
which ones?
Well, like the way some musicians were beginning to get political and how they were trying to use their music to talk about peace. And then it was just, oh no, Bob Dylan wants to use an electric guitar? That can't be.
Dylan
like
goes electric.
That just one, I feel like the focus of the film shifted. And then by the end, I was like, are we really freaking out about this? Like, is this the heart of the film? And so it lost me. Like I didn't care that much.
Yeah. Yeah. The movie made me root for Pete Seeger.
Yeah. Yeah.
It didn't make me, it just, or the Edward Norton character. He just, I was on that guy's side the whole time.
Yeah.
I think if you went into it really loving the Dylan electric sound, you would have felt more conflicted.
Uh-huh.
I'm assuming. I don't know. Like, I didn't feel that way. But I just was like, if they made a movie about the Beatles struggling to go from the White Album to, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club, or whichever one was first, like,
yeah,
I'd probably feel different because it's like, wow, I really love both of those. But again,
yeah, it's just strange. And
why did you want more Joan Baez?
She was my favorite character. She just seemed rad. I felt,
even though she I mean,
hey,
she makes some questionable choices.
It takes two to tango.
It does.
It takes two to tango.
But you didn't want more.
I didn't hate her.
of the other girl. I can't remember.
Dakota Fanning's character. No, because when she was like done with him and like broke up with him, I was like, as you should. Bye now.
Get out of there.
Yeah, I was okay with having less screen time with her because, get out of that relationship. He ain't doing nothing for you.
You're too good, honey.
Timothy isn't the best boyfriend in this or Dune 2.
Men ain't.
Yeah.
There's 2 movies with Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah, but I'm sure Kylie Jenner's having a good time.
Yeah, well, again, he was really good in it. And I can understand why he was nominated for actor in a lead role. It still wouldn't have been my choice, but I thought, the storyline of him, his struggle to go from acoustic to electric and sort of his transitioning. I wasn't convinced to really care about his success when I met the character.
Yeah, I agree.
It would have been nice to know more about him. Okay.
Is your number 7 The Substance?
My number 7 is The Substance.
Finally, my gosh.
Okay.
I was like, if this is not
one?
your 7, I'm like concerned. Substance was my number 8.
Substance was your number 8. Okay. You had a tough time watching this one.
I will say, I feel like I shouldn't have been allowed to include this on my rankings.
Because
I should not have been allowed.
Because you weren't looking at the screen
for 90% of it.
No, you watched at least 50% of it. Okay. 40, maybe close to 50%.
Do you want me to include this on my list though?
Yeah, you can.
All right.
You listened to most of it.
I did.
You just didn't. You just covered your eyes with a blanket.
I'll tell you what I did see, I wasn't a fan of. I will say most of the people who I've seen like rave about this movie, it's people who love horror and gore. Like people loved this because of the things I couldn't watch. Like they loved the special effects. They loved how like creepy and it was, those are the parts I couldn't watch. But even if we just talk about the story of it all, because that's what I love about a good movie, the story of it all was not that interesting to me. I think that's a good I feel like that concept is like timeless. Like you have somebody who is successful and they're aging and they wish they could, be their younger self or have younger features so that their success can be prolonged. I think that's a great start. Like, a lot of people can relate to that. A lot of people can understand that. But from there, like, I didn't really empathize for I didn't really sympathize with Demi. What's her character's name?
Demi Moore. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, I don't even remember. Well, yeah, I didn't sympathize with her character. I was like, if that's really so important to you, like, get cosmetic surgery. Like, don't do this. Like, the character just comes across as so dumb. Like, her decisions do not make sense. And I also thought the editing and like the cinematography was weird for it. Like, I don't know. They were very obsessed with these like pops of primary colors. And it just paired in a strange way with like the gore to me. Didn't think the script was that great. Like, yeah, I just thought it was really weird. When it wasn't creepy, it was boring.
Wow, you really hated this movie.
Yeah, so it was either always like at a 10 on gore or like 0. Just like, here we go again.
Man, I'm glad I put this in my 7 because I almost put it at 6. I wasn't. Yeah,
it's okay if you liked it. Can I ask you this?
Yeah.
Out of 5 stars, how many would you have given this?
Oh yeah, I would have probably given it low, like 2, maybe 2.5.
Okay.
I would give it like 2.2. That's my final answer. I'm locking that in.
Okay.
It's not. Again, I'm not like a huge fan of the gore and horror. I won't hate, like I do. There are some kind of more gory or scary, thrilling movies that I like. So it's not like an issue with the genre. This one felt like that's what it was going for to serve the story. It didn't really hit with. I'm not the target audience, I don't think so. It didn't really hit with me as well.
Why do you say you're not the target audience?
Because I'm not a female struggling with the same things that Demi Moore's character struggles with in terms of body image and societal pressures to look a certain way. I don't like the movie was sort of this surrealist, overly like sensationalized reality. Like I thought the guy, Dennis Quaid's character, the boss of like the organization or the TV station, where he's like sort of a caricature of that style of person, a goofy CEO who's like misogynistic and doesn't care and like doesn't, is all cares about numbers. Like they are sort of these, like, it's a microcosm, a macrocosm. Like it kind of hits you over the head with what they're trying to say, like who this is. And even like the Demi Moore and other girl,
I don't remember her name.
She's in,
Once Upon a
Time.
Like everyone else.
Yeah, and she's in a bunch of things. The two female leads they don't say much, and I thought that was like interesting, but again, it's just like it hits you over the head. It's supposed to hit you over the head of like, here's who we're talking about, and I don't know. It in some ways worked because it's that style of movie. Like it's gory and it's thriller and it's supposed to be, I don't know. It's surreal and it's everything is overly emphasized. Even the colors are so poppy and so bright and so in your face. But again, it just, I think there was a more tactful way to do it, and it wasn't. It didn't like affect me super well. I just thought like, wow, if somebody sees the world that way, that's a bummer, and I wouldn't want that. But I wasn't like emotionally pulled in it, and I don't think like Demi Moore. The acting was okay, like by both of them. What was like really phenomenal about this movie was the makeup and cosmetics.
Yeah.
They
deserve
ending
that win.
and the things that Demi Moore like had to do for that makeup and that set design and that dressing is wild.
Yeah.
That was like, that really was well deserved. There's scenes in that movie that did terrify me. Don't get me wrong. Like there are some really hard to watch, really like, but you still can't pull your eyes away things of like, oh my gosh. Like I was vocal during this movie, like, wow.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think it's not one that I'm like, I want to watch that again, or I want to recommend this to people. It didn't stick with me super long.
But you liked it more than A Complete Unknown.
I did.
Wow. That is
I did. And I think that's just me maybe hating on, honestly, maybe it's just my hate of Bob Dylan. I don't know. Complete Unknown, I walked away like kind of bummed out.
That's what we watched on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
We paid full price in theaters.
It was like $5.
Oh, good.
It was like a $5. It was a Tuesday matinee, so it was really cheap. But I Complete Unknown I didn't like because of like what the movie was going for. The substance I felt like was punching above its weight in a way.
I have a question for you. Yes, the substance was horrifying at times. Did you think it was pretty predictable?
Yes.
Yeah.
After I got the core concept of like what the substance was and what this thing.
These are the conditions. These are the difficulties.
I was like, okay, I can see where this is going. Maybe except for like the very end.
Yeah.
But even then I was like, oh man, I know what she's going to do and it's going to be bad. Like you know from the jump, like these characters are going to make bad decisions.
Yeah. And I was wondering because I felt like it was predictable. And that's why I knew when to look away. Like, well, this is what they're probably going to do. Something I saw, and this is not my own review, and I don't know whose it was, but I had read a negative review, and they were saying how they really hated on, like, they felt like this movie made moviegoers feel dumb. Like, there were certain things where they were just like, did you get that? Did you get that? Did you get how that connects to that?
Like I said, it hits you over the head.
Yeah, yeah. And so I don't know, again, with that kind of concept, like it's pretty easy to grasp right away, like this is what the message of the movie is. And then, yeah, if you're in it for the special effects, like you'll have a fun time, but the story was not interesting to me.
Something that actually Ben Stiller, director of Severance, said that I was just listening to on Severance, talked about the audience, all you need to do is let them put 2 and 2 together and they will love you forever. That's like a phrase that a lot of, movie makers use. If they put 2 and 2 together, they'll love you forever. Meaning, like, audiences are pretty smart. And if you let them decide and figure out what something means, you don't have to spell things out for them.
Yeah.
That's
and
what
you
a
get
lot
to
of
discover it.
That's what a lot of like daytime TV does is like the characters are like, there's a character that's dumb who everybody has to explain something to. That's because they want to explain it to the audience. They want somebody like,
Wow.
And this movie sort of felt like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like, I know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to go through this. I don't need to watch this.
This isn't a sitcom.
It don't get me wrong. It was an experiential movie. You do watch it going, oh my gosh, like that, the blood or this scene or this gore is pretty wild. So if you like that, I think you'll like it. And I'm not against that. Like I think there's a time and place for it. That was my 7. Was that your 7?
That was my 8.
What was your 8? What's your 7?
Complete Unknown.
Okay, cool. What is your 6?
Wicked.
Mine
Whoa!
too. Mine too. Okay, good. We might have like roughly the same list, maybe up until 1.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So why was Wicked at your 6?
I was trying to figure out why it was 6 and not higher.
You love the musical, and we saw it live before.
I do. I will say, I think I tend to judge a little harshly, and I think I went in very unfairly with this film. I've loved this music since I was a kid, and I purposely waited to see the movie because I wanted to be able to see it live first. And we were fortunate enough to go see it live like a week before we saw it in theaters. So it was cool that we got to have the back-to-back. Mm-hmm. I wonder if I tasted the privilege of how great of a musical it was. And then seeing the film, I was like, this ain't it. This isn't cutting it. Yeah. My main qualms, I think when I'm looking at this list, the things that are most important to me in films are like the cinematography is a pretty big deal to me. And then just like the heart of the story. And I think with Wicked, I already knew the story. So I was like, you don't have to convince me. Like, I love the music. I know what's going to happen. Like, I'm here. I'm in it. And I didn't feel like the storytelling was that great. Like, I don't know. If you're going to take a musical and make it into a movie, like, use movie magic. Do things that they cannot do live on the stage. Like, use your magic. Do what they cannot do. And this one, I just felt like there wasn't a lot of movie magic. I do know, and it is impressive. They tried to avoid a lot of special effects, especially when it came to scenery. And so all those scenes are built, which is impressive. But when it came to like the cinematography, when it came to like the coloring, I was like, this is not Wicked. This is not Oz.
You had a really big issue with the opening scenes color grading. Can you tell me more?
It felt dull. It felt untouched. It felt like
it felt like a raw image.
Yes, it felt like here's the raw image that we took on our iPhones. Just so someone can get an idea of like, okay, this is where this is going to be. It did not feel like anyone touched it. Yeah, the coloring just really bothered me.
Versus Wizard of Oz could that be from the Wizard of Oz juxtaposing black and white to color? First one to go, to color? Or is it that you wanted it to pop off the screen to not feel like reality? You wanted it to feel like a magical land, and it felt like a world that you could live in.
Like, I'm looking at like the yellow brick road, and I'm just like, yeah, it's yellow. Like, it's not like when you watch The Wizard of Oz, like they don't have all these special effects, and like the color like pops, and the grain is gorgeous, and like it feels like a fairyland. And with this, it was like, cool, you made all that. But like, yeah, the colors, I was just like, if you're gonna like wow me with colors, like this one should have been a lot more vivid, I felt like.
Did the Oz scenes with the green do the same?
No, I felt like I was in a warehouse. I felt like it was the exact same set from the beginning. It just, everything was green. And again, it didn't pop.
Interesting.
It did not pop. And so that really disappointed me. And so that's my main reason it's so low on my list. Again, with the story, I was like, you don't have to convince me, but I was like, if I didn't know the story, like, would I care the way that they're telling it? I thought some of the acting was great. I thought Ariana Grande was great. I thought, what's his name? He's from Bridgerton. Is it John Bailey? That feels wrong.
I don't know. Fierro?
Yeah. I
have no idea.
I thought he did fantastic. But yeah, it was okay. And then I know this is an unpopular opinion. And again, maybe it was because we had just seen it live, but Cynthia was not my Elphaba. I felt like her acting was very like, it was kind of static at times. Like it felt like, okay, like she can sing this song in a really pretty way, but I don't believe you're Elphaba. So again, I think I just had really, really high expectations, and that's not fair to them. But that is why it's my number 6.
No, that's fair. I thought Ariana was pretty good. Let me say this about Elphaba. Cynthia was okay. I wasn't overly impressed with her. I thought that being true to the character, like, you have to go through this transformation. Mm-hmm. Like, you have to go from one place to the other. And I felt like I didn't see that a lot with this Elphaba. With like this movie, didn't seem like she made a huge transition. Yeah. And like, maybe this is like an over interpretation, but the movie's called Wicked, right? And specifically at the end, at this junction, like where the movie ends, she's supposed to be the Wicked Witch of the East, of the West, of the East. Which one is she?
I think West.
She's the West. I think she's the Wicked Witch West.
West Side?
She's supposed to be the Wicked Witch. She's supposed to be evil.
Yeah.
Like Oz, like
She's
Wizard of Oz.
supposed to be changed.
Yeah, and I get that you're supposed to like, you're supposed to see the other side of it, and like not, wickedness is it? Are you born with it, or are you thrust upon it? I get that, but I would have loved to see more of what Idina Menzel does in it, and what we saw live. I haven't seen the Idina Menzel, so I can't really say that, but at least what we saw live. At the end of the first act, I was terrified. Not like literally, but like I was like, wow, I can see.
And we were
she
from
seems evil.
The balcony.
Yeah, and we were way up in the nosebleeds, and I was still just like, yep, I can expect her to do some pretty awful things in the next act.
You can see that switch in her character.
I could see this like rage and almost evilness, wickedness. At the end of like the movie Wicked, I was just like, I'm not scared.
Yeah, I just felt
if
like
I was Dorothy, man, put these fists up in this box.
I feel like she played everything really softly.
Yeah.
And again, it's like she's a good singer, but it would just feel like the character would drop. Like as soon as the song was over, like out of character, just reading lines. And am I saying I can do better than her? No way, Jose. But again, the expectations were high.
Yeah.
I would have rather, I'm going to say it, would have rather had the Elphaba from when we saw it at Gamage in this film.
Who was better, Ariana Grande's Elphaba or the one we saw live?
Glinda?
Yeah, or Glinda, sorry. Not Elphaba.
Both were great.
Both were
Ariana Grande, I was like, that's Glinda.
I thought so too. She was phenomenal.
Yeah, she was great. Yeah. No qualms.
No issues with Ariana.
All right, number 5. I know it's not the same one as yours.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Are you ready?
Number 5. 3, 2, 1.
Dune 2.
I'm still here. Okay, so we talked about Dune 2. I've got I'm still. We'll wait till we both get to it. Number 4.
I'm still here.
Okay,
oh,
good.
sorry.
Good. No, because then I'll give my number 4 and then we'll keep going.
I'm still here.
Okay, so that was your 4. That was my 5. Interesting. Okay. First of all, actually, let's do this. We've both talked about Dune. Why is Dune? Actually, no. I'll wait till we get.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because I want to talk more about Dune.
Always.
So I'm Still Here was a Brazilian film, Portuguese, English subtitled, and it's a true story. Mm-hmm. It's based on all real events.
That one's hard to watch.
It was a tough one.
So tragic.
Yeah, it does a great job of shining light on a group of people and an event that was really tragic. The Brazilian coup of 1960 something, and I've already forgotten. But it sucks you in, and it makes you really care about these people, and it made me. Yeah, it was one of the ones that like really stuck with me for a while.
Yeah. I loved, it's based on a true story, but I think the storytelling was beautiful because I almost see it as like 2 movies. Like we have the beginning where you're just like a fly on the wall. Like, what's this family like? Like, oh, they're very hospitable. Like they're always the ones who have the parties with all the families and friends. Oh, the kids live right by the beach. That's where they play volleyball with their friends on the beach. And like, you just get so sucked into their world right away. And it feels homey, which I thought, it was just impressive how quickly they make you like, it just felt like being a fly on the wall. And I was like, wow, I feel really cozy and like a part of this family. Like I want to go over.
Yeah. And then it's a switch.
Yes. And so I kind of saw it as like 2 halves, and I'm grateful they did it that way. I just think, not saying you wouldn't care about it if you didn't know about the family, but I don't know if this was the filmmaker's like intentions, but like even the title I'm Still Here is a very resilient title. Like it wasn't supposed to be a story of defeat. Like this mom is very resilient, and she's not perfect, but she's trying her best to like create the best life for her and her kids despite like the horrific things that have happened and that were happening in that world. And so I'm glad they had such a beautiful like intro to the family to show like they were not defined by this tragedy. Like they were still a family. It was their family values, I think, that made them so resilient.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get to kind of see like, you know, things aren't shiny and like great and happy anymore, but like we're still a family. Here's the ways we're going to like push through. And so, yeah, I just thought the storytelling was fantastic. And I really loved the way they involved is it a Super 8 camera?
Yeah.
The oldest daughter has like, she's like really into film, really into like her Super 8 camera. And I feel like that also made it feel more warm and just like, here are the joys amidst this like tragic story.
I thought so too. It wasn't just like, let's make this, you know, as true to the time. Like, let's make this a stylized movie of that period. It was the 70s. It wasn't like, let's just put you there so that you can feel this visceral pain that this family went through. It was like I thought the film does a good job of giving you the good things that happened to, or like you get to experience the joys that some of these characters do too. But they like ultimately they have to make some really hard decisions, and you get to sit through it with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just the mom, the actress who plays the mom was phenomenal.
Yeah.
She could have been nominated and was well deserving of actress in a leading role. I was just looking. She didn't get nominated. I thought she was one of the best.
Is she not Fernanda Torres? That's her, I think.
No.
Actress in a leading role?
Oh, you're right. Sorry, I was looking at actress in a supporting role. Yeah, she was. Okay, good. Oh, that makes me feel better. She was unbelievable.
You're like, these bozos.
And yeah, it's just like day in the life of that family for a lot of the movie.
Yeah.
And that can get really boring really quickly.
Yeah.
And I never checked out, you know?
Yeah. I think they did a good job too of like, the goal at hand is like they're trying to figure out what happened to the dad who has gone missing, but kind of like what you said, like you're also getting a glimpse into like a day in the life. Like you're seeing, how does the mom respond to these questions? Like her kids are asking, how does she respond to her daughter who's living in another country, writing letters and asking about it? Like you get to see both.
But then how does she carry on supporting the family? How does she, carry on with her own grief? Yeah,
exactly. And like, I'm not a mother. And watching that, I was just like, wow, like, even if you like, don't focus in on like this tragedy they went through and you just look at her decisions as a mom, like it was really conflicting. Like, do you choose to just like tell your kids the truth all the time, no matter how much it scares them? Or do you need to be careful of, hey, like, this is only going to make them more anxious and there's nothing we can do about it right now. Let me distract them. Let me just not give them all the information. Like, I think that's a real struggle. I'm sure a lot of parents have. And so seeing it with this context was really like, wow, I don't know what this character is supposed to do.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. It was excellent. And I thought too, the writing was, I know it was subtitled and everything, but I still thought it did well. Even though I didn't speak the language, I still felt like I understood everything and could grasp kind of the dynamics and the conversations that these characters were having, which probably takes some effort if you were writing a movie that you wanted to have an international audience for. Yeah,
I'm really grateful we saw this one in theaters.
Yeah, me too. Number
3,
4 for me.
Okay.
What was your 4? I'm still. Your 4 was I'm Still Here? Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. So then I'll go and then you go. My number 4 was Conclave. That was your 3?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Wow. Okay. So this to me feels like the lowest deserving one. So my number 2, like I could have put this at 2. I was debating really putting this at 2. My 2, 3, and 4 are all like, were in high contention. They were really jockeying for that 2 spot.
But it was your lowest deserving one?
Like Like, meaning this is the one I felt like I wish I could put higher.
I see.
You know what I mean? This one I feel like I've done it dirty. Conclave was based on a book. No, I can't now. I'm sticking with my guns. Conclave was based on the book. And truthfully, I didn't walk away like being like, I really want to read that book, but I was interested in the story. And the cast is phenomenal.
Yeah.
All of them knock it out of the park.
Yeah, I'm really grateful. Like, even though we recognized a lot of these people from other things, like it didn't take me away from their characters in this film.
No, this wasn't Stanley Tucci from Devil Wears Prada and Barney's dad and Voldemort.
Yeah. I was like, no, you are a priest.
No, they all really sink into their characters. And I think like even if you're not Catholic or even if you are Catholic, like there's a lot of conversations and dialogue in this movie that speaks to a lot of like what faith is and sort of dynamics and struggle. Like there's things that you can resonate with even if you don't like the ending or like agree that, this is a story that like should be entertaining. Like there's a deep understanding of like theology here that was written into this movie. I felt like, and like the homily that he gives in the movie,
that was my favorite
part. Really resonate with me. I was like, wow, that's really beautiful. And I'm going to be thinking about that and piecemealing that. And there's times where like just the whole concept of spiritual leaders who allow for doubt and allow space for that. I thought it was great. Yeah.
And I love too, like, I think we both knew about like the twist at the end, going into it. And I kind of thought that was going to be like the main focus of like the entire film. But again, it's like there's more depth to it, which is why I think you can appreciate it whether you're Catholic, whether you're non-denominational Christian, or you know nothing about Catholicism. Because I think it does a good job of like, honestly, I think a lot of these films we're trying to focus on this past year. But I think trying to highlight like there is no perfect candidate. Like all these people have flaws. All these people have like their own mistakes in their history. And now it's a matter of how do I discern where the line is of like, hey, you're human and like you can have a fresh start versus that is like, that's too far gone. Like you're forgiven, but like you cannot be like in a place of authority, and it's just like, where do you find that line?
Yeah. No, there's no winning.
And it was juicy.
It's a great drama.
Like I was leaning in for the tea from this one.
Even if you don't like understand it or don't agree with it, like it's dramatic and it's entertaining and just the way that information comes out about these cardinals and the way that they interact and the backstabbing and the alliance, like it's a great drama.
Yeah, and I loved like the way it was filmed. Like it just, I don't know, it was pretty gorgeous to me.
Yeah, ironic that it wins for costuming, considering that they're all
kind of
real, but
funny.
I think that there's validity in that. It's you have to get really authentic. If you are gonna do, and I think that's fair for a lot of these ones that are based on real things. Weren't they?
They were nominated, I believe, and I think Wicked won for that. They won for set, unless I'm getting this all wrong.
You might be right.
But either way, yeah, they were nominated, which is
even with funny. Set, like you gotta get authentic. You got like
if you're gonna do it, you need to put intentionality to it.
Because there's people like, especially with Conclave, there are people who would have walked out of that movie going, no, he would have wore his hat like this, or no, that altar looks like this, or he would have done this. There are people, and I'm sure that there were people who picked it apart, but that wasn't what we walked away from the movie going. You have to be good enough not to distract and make it real, make it like believable that these characters exist in this world. Yeah. So I thought it was deserved, honestly. I was sucked in, and I would have, if you would have told me that it was filmed in Rome, I'd have been like, yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. All right. There's only two left, right?
I think here's where we we really go off the rails, you and me, in our agreement. My 3 and your 2.
Uh-huh.
My 3 is
Nickel
Anora.
Boys. I knew you were going to say that.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
No, you didn't.
Because I know it's not your... Okay.
Okay. Why?
Shall we talk about Nickel Boys then? Since...
Because that's my 2.
We can like bookend with our favorites again.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, let's talk about Nickel Boys.
So Nickel Boys was both of our 2.
Yeah.
Hey. Okay, cool. Loved Nickel Boys.
This was, I think... I know I said this about Dune. It stuck with me, but I think what was different about Nickel Boys, this was the one that I teared up at. I don't know if I actually shared a tear, but I really had to hold back and was like, really emotionally affected by this one more than any of them.
Yeah.
It's so heartbreaking. Yeah. And I, at the start of the movie, was like, am I going to get winded and sort of tired of this perspective thing? But it really did serve the story well.
I agree.
It was going back and forth between the two characters' perspectives, and just like even just the clarity of shots, I thought was really, really cool in being like, this is a personal experience to this person, and like even they're not gonna get everything right, perceive everything right, and they're not gonna interact with this world as well as you would hope.
Yeah.
But yet there's still a real injustice going on here, and I don't know, it was just really heartbreaking. Because you're sitting in with them, you really understand why they're making the decisions more than any other character. I feel like in movies I've seen, like, you're like, yeah, I can see why this person is feeling this way or doing this.
Yeah. Something really interesting I didn't think about until I'd read up on it some more. So with the perspective thing, I agree with you. I kind of went into it like, either I'm going to get sick of this or it's going to distract from what this movie is about. Because there were some like pretty artsy shots, like even not just the perspective thing, but just like lot of random, like, here's the sky, here's this fruit, which was gorgeous. But I was like, man, I don't want this to feel too much like an artsy film project and like distract from the heart of the story. And like you said, I think it served it really well. I feel like I need to watch it again to say this with like confidence. But from what I remember, a lot of the shots where he is like a little kid or where it's more childlike, like they're kind of outside of the school and they're like exploring. There's a lot of shots of him looking up, like a lot of shots like towards the sky, towards the trees, like them looking at their reflection, which was one of my favorite shots. You remember that? You can see both of them. He's just like has this like light in his eyes, like very childlike, just playing. And then it's a lot when he gets to this point in his life where he's at the school or he's in the car that's get pulled over, like he's looking down more. And so it kind of goes from this childlike, like you're looking up, like the sky's the limit, like you have these dreams. He was gonna go take these college classes, and now it's like, oh, like there's somebody who has more power than me and I need to submit. Like I have to look down. I don't have power in this moment. I'm being disciplined in this moment. Like this looking down of like whether it's shame or fear, which I feel like speaks volumes to the heart of the film, like, which is so gorgeous they could do that with just the shots. With
just the choice of where to point the camera.
Yeah, like there was no dialogue. It wasn't through a song. Like just from looking at like, where is this guy looking? You step into his shoes, like for real.
Which it's a movie where when you see it, it's hard to watch, and that's like so much a part of the story. That's so much a good thing of like
here's what he was living through.
Here's what he's living through, and like you are looking at it, watching it, going like, I want to look up to see what's happening, but I want him to look up, but I know that he's not going to, and I am experiencing and trying to understand like what he's feeling in that moment to not make him look up, to not shift the camera upwards. And you're like, either you're rooting for him to be like, oh, like I wish that wasn't the case. I wish this wasn't so.
Yeah. But yeah, it was,
And the final scenes of them running through the field.
my gosh.
What, like, that being a very visceral experience was so, like, the whole perspective thing culminates in that moment.
I had tears streaming. Like, usually in movies, like, I'm like, but I was like, no noise was being made. It was just like hot, angry tears, just like constant stream until the credits were done rolling from that point. Like, it just, it makes you so angry. And contrary to Brutalist, like, with this one, this wasn't like a complete true story, but it was based on stories about a school that did exist.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I mean about the Brutalist. Like,
even if there was some kind of loose, like, inspiration.
Yeah, even if there was an inspiration. And, like, this flashes forward to the future, too, in a lot of scenes, and tells, like, how somebody would be experiencing this now.
Yeah.
How it would relate to me in this moment, and what effect this would have on the world that I interact with every day. And I think with the whole perspective thing, like, that's an important piece of it, because people walk out of that movie going, how am I better informed by this? How am I, like, how can I have an understanding of the world and the African-American community within this? Like, how can I walk out of this with a better understanding? Brutalist, I didn't feel like that. And Brutalist was like sort of artsy fartsy in a bad way. I was like, there's parts of it that were good, but then there's just a lot of it that I was like, this is indulgent. Nickel Boys, I was like, wow, this is so beautiful, and it's really sucking me in. And I'm fascinated to see what they have next.
Yeah.
You know?
And it was stunning. Like, it was
it's
really well
That's
done.
what I mean. Like, it's beautiful.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, too. I know we kind of talked about this recently, but just if we ask ourselves why these movies, why now? I do think it's really interesting. Nickel Boys, I'm Still Here, and even Emilia Perez kind of all in a different way talk about this idea of, like, disappearances and being lied to about whether they're killed, where they are. Like, it's just interesting to me that, like, 3 of these films, that's a pretty big deal in their stories.
Yeah, the loss of a person.
Yeah, and again, it's like, why now? Like, why make I'm Still Here now? Why show it in America now? Nickel Boys, why now? Even, like, Emilia Perez, why? But it just makes me wonder, like, what is that saying about where our world is at? Like, is there a lot of fear in that right now?
Yeah.
It just makes me curious, like what that actually looks like for the state of our world at this
now
moment.
You got me looking through the rest of them, too, thinking about Dune 2. Paul Muad'Dib Atreides is missing from Arrakis and from the Emperor. They think he's dead, and he's not. Honora, Vanya goes missing.
Yeah, but they don't think
and
he's
the
dead.
whole movie's him.
I don't feel bad for
the whole
Vanya.
movie is trying to find him. No,
Wicked could kind of argue that if you get to the second one. Like, except it's a hunt. It's not, oh, she's gone and we think she died. It's more, she's gone and we need to kill her.
Yeah, that's fair. The other ones I couldn't come up with anything.
Yeah, but isn't that interesting? Like, I wonder what inspired people to, like, push out those messages and those stories at a time like this.
Yeah.
Kind of scary.
Must be, recent events in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So Conclave to me is the one that I wish I could put more. 2, 3, 4. Honora, Conclave, and Nickel Boys are all really, really good. I think, to me, I drew the line. I'm Still Here is, like, good. But 4 through 1 are in a category all their own. And then I'm Still Here is, like, sort of there. Wicked, Substance, Complete Unknown, all okay. And then Brutalist and Emilia Perez is, like, bottom 2. Like, those are the bad ones.
For me, Dune was my 5, and then Wicked was my 6, and everything after Wicked was, here are movies I didn't like, and now I just have to figure out what order to put them in. So Wicked was, like, the last one I liked, and it just did not make it to the top tier.
Yeah. What would be your number 1 pick of movie if you could nominate one that wasn't?
Wasn't on this list?
Yeah.
Oh,
Any movie from last year. Mine's easy. It's We Live in Time.
Oh. I'm trying to remember what other movies we saw last year.
I didn't see Inside Out 2.
Nah.
No, wouldn't have made it. A Real Pain.
Nope.
Did not win.
Man, I can't remember any movies outside of these. I feel like these have just been like...
We have yet to see Sing Sing, which I'm really excited for.
I'm very excited.
September 5.
No.
I might swap that out. I still would have gone with We Live in Time, but that's up there for me.
It was nominated for Adapted Screenplay?
Original Screenplay, actually.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I don't remember anything else.
Okay.
I saw.
I was just curious if you had.
I just don't remember
something off
anything
the
I
top of
saw
your
that
head.
came out in that year.
Oh.
Outside of these.
I'm sure we could pull up a list, but.
Yeah. Interesting. Yes.
So, at the top of our lists is Anora and Dune 2.
Very different films.
Let's do this. I want to ask what both of these movies are saying, like, as a prayer, and about the world.
Yeah.
Do you want to start with Anora, or do you want to start with Dune 2?
Let's start with Anora because I don't totally get Dune 2.
Okay, that's fair.
So
let's talk about what we know.
Cool. Let's talk about Anora.
So, Anora, can you give the summary?
Yes, I can. I don't want to give too much away because I think if it's not difficult for you to watch with the nudity and the sex shots and the like concepts of like the story with a sex worker, I do think it's good that you are surprised at some moments, so I don't want to give too much away. But essentially we have a character, Anora, who is a sex worker in New York, and she's like very like good at her job. She's like recommended to a lot of people, and a Russian client comes in, someone closer to her age, and so they just kind of have more blurred lines of their relationship, whether it's client or dating or friends with benefits. What is it? So it kind of follows how that dynamic unravels, and they get married. That's not too much of a spoiler. It's in the trailer. And then after that, everything kind of just hits the fan. There's just a lot more going on with his family, with their status. And so, things kind of hit the fan for Anora, and it becomes like a buddy, like road trip film after that. Like it's just like a totally different movie the second half.
Yeah, it becomes like this adventure film almost once the conflict comes to a like screaming halt.
Yeah. So that is what I will leave the synopsis at. I feel like it's okay. Yeah. Synopsis. Now that we'll be talking about answering this question, I will probably spoil it, which I'm fine with.
Well, let's start with this. What was your favorite scene?
The fight scene.
The fight scene?
There have been so many times I come home and I just want to watch like that 20-minute like fight scene.
Which is wild because I remember feeling like this is kind of hard to watch.
Really?
It's
like funny. It's like,
I think you have to come into it as like this is a film set. They're filming this. And this is not like a real, this is not like really happening in live time.
Also, like having the knowledge that they did their own stunts, it's like, okay, like they were safe filming this. The fight scene is my favorite. And the more that I've been able to discuss this film with people, the ending I actually have come to really, really appreciate.
Okay, I have too. I'm glad.
Yeah. And not because it's like a great resolution or anything, but just Sean Baker did a good job of keeping it open-ended, and I think you just learn so much about Annie's character without any dialogue in those last 5 minutes. Like, I don't know, that's impressive to me.
Yeah. Let's just spoil it. What does the ending mean to you?
So what it means to me, I think...
how did you interpret the ending?
So I'm aware that I might be wrong. Actually, no, it's open to interpretation.
It's open-ended.
I believe that the ending is kind of highlighting this dynamic for Anora's character where sex and like her body, like everything is transactional, and therefore like things are owed. Throughout a lot of the film, like there's men who want things from her physically, and she has control over it, actually. Like, she gets to name her price and even like negotiate, like, can you do this? And so even though it is a transaction, it's not like her character is asking for pity. Like, I think it doesn't come across as like, oh, she has to do this. Like, I don't know what her backstory is, but it doesn't come across as like, poor Annie got tricked into this. It's like, no, she's actually in control, and she's calling the shots. She's calling the prices, and she's hustling. And that is, you know, I'm using air quotes, but she is successful for most of the film. And this ending scene, Igor, who I love, again, there's a lot open to interpretation. I do think he is supposed to be this good protective figure. Throughout the whole film, he is there to protect her. One, because it's his job. Like, he's supposed to be the henchman with these guys, supposed to make sure no one gets hurt, but also keep, like, Vanya in line. So, one, he's doing his job, which I get. However, when it comes to, like, the way his character looks at things and the way he's listening, the way he hesitates, like, why do I have to do that? He seems really empathetic towards Honora and, like, genuinely wants the best outcome for her. It doesn't seem like he's out to attack her or to gain anything from her. With that being said, leading up to the final scene, she's like, has this very hard exterior with him and is like making like a lot of assumptions about, I bet you wanted this. I bet you like this. I bet this is what you wanted. And like, I don't know. As an audience member, I didn't think his character came across that way. I know some people think, oh, Igor was just another guy who, you know, he just like looked at her one way and wanted her. I truly believe he did not have those kind of motives. And so this final scene, he's dropping her off. He's driving his grandma's old car, and like, he's done his job. Like, he's protected her, got her the money they owe her, gets her to her home. And then it turns out he took back the wedding ring that they took from her, and he gives it to her. Like, he wants her to have it. And that's also so beautiful to me, because you see like the heartbreak in his eyes when they're like, get that ring off her hand. When they're like, they don't realize she has like a full ring, and they're like, get that off her hand. And he's literally like, why? like he doesn't want to, but again, he's doing his job and helps them get it off of her. And then when he's dropping her off, like, that was not part of the deal for anyone, but he took it back for her. Which maybe that was a risk in his job. And it just was like this very like selfless like moment of like, I can't fix everything, but like, you did not deserve to go through that. And so it seems like this really heartfelt like gesture, and Honora initiates like sex with him essentially in the car. And it's just like this very awkward like few minutes. Like, everything feels very wrong. It doesn't feel well coordinated, which again is strange for the character, because like, this is what she does for a living. Like, she knows like how to do this in a way that's like, you know, appealing to these guys, and they're going to pay all this money. But this is a very awkward scene. She seems frustrated, and essentially he tries to kiss her, and she like seems really angry, like tries to hit him, and then falls into his chest, just like full on sobbing, like this really like
guttural sob.
Yes. Yeah. Like super emotional ending. And that's how it ends.
Yeah. I agree. That's sort of how I interpret it. Like, she throughout the whole movie has this understanding and relationship with men that they do something for her. They pay her or give her money or just are nice to her. And her response is like sexual favors.
Mm-hmm.
That is her relationship with people, is they either do something for me, get something for me, and I have to, this is how I pay them back.
Mm-hmm.
And Igor is the only one, and throughout the whole movie too, she's going through this really traumatic experience. Like, that fight scene is
terrifying.
Like, I will say that it is like funny at times, but it's also really like hard on her. And
she doesn't know who these guys are. She doesn't know if they're gonna kill her, and
Again,
she's small.
And she's very small, and she's fighting all of these excuse me, all of these men who are asking a lot of her and doing like things and like
telling her like
directing
this is
her
gonna get
around,
ripped away from
pulling her one way.
Yeah.
It's really it's a traumatic experience for her. And at the end of it all, she sort of perseveres and fights through it all. She doesn't break down. She doesn't cry at any moment. That's when they have that close up shot of her
In
with
the
her
car?
no with her. Well, I guess she does cry in the car. You're right. But even that is like a private moment that only really Igor sees and is aware of. But I'm more talking about that close up of her with the gag in her mouth. She's not crying. She's like calm and clearly thinking like
she's angry.
She's angry, but it's like I'm not gonna break.
Yeah. Again, it seems more like a power thing of like I know what's going on. Like you need to like get this off of me.
Yeah, I'm really fighting against this.
Yeah.
And then in the car, you're right. She cries, and it's like this silent, sort of private. She's leaned up against the window. She doesn't want them to see. And Igor's the only one tentative to it and privy, and he witnesses that. And I think even before that scene, he's understanding of like
this is messed up.
Her plight and what she's going through. And then at the end, just throughout the whole conversation that she has with him in the mansion and then in the car afterwards and him giving her the ring, her natural, like what she's been sort of, what she's learned about men, like sort of brushes up in contrast with what Igor's doing. He's doing this, like he's just being nice and he's just giving her the ring back because he
wasn't
cares.
supposed to give it to her.
And he gets out of the car and brings her bags up to the door, drives her home, and he's such the antithesis to what Vanya is.
Yeah.
But she still can't really understand that. And so she initiates sex with him thinking that that's like the proper response. And within that, he like sort of leans in and kisses her and wants, like, he's okay and he holds space for that vulnerability for her. And then that's when she sobs. That's when this breakdown of like what just happened to her, of, you know, and I think too, like with all the things that she went through, like she did like sort of fall in love foolishly, I would say, fall in love with this rich guy who pays her and buys her a bunch of things, and sort of she was tricked or not tricked, but like she sort of fell into this lifestyle that she really wanted and thought she had and thought she really fell in lucky with this guy that was going to give her all these good things, and then that was ripped away from her. And coming up with Igor, who's, like I said, the antithesis, who's so much not like that. It's his grandmother's car, and he's just very calm and doesn't rise to her. Like that kind of treatment of that relationship is so unnatural to her that it causes her to break down. And I don't know that, it's powerful. It is a great character movie of just getting inside this woman's mind and a lot of the people that go through similar things that she's been through.
Yeah. I remember you asking if I'd want to read a book about this. And I remember before I was like, I think so, just because there's so much I don't know about her backstory. But with this movie, like, I think I'm so impressed by the way Sean created her character that, like, I'm glad we don't get all the answers to, like, how she got here. Like, we kind of just pick up from, like, here's her norm. This is what she does. And, like, it's up to you to kind of watch the way she responds to things, watch, like, the actions she takes, and, like, you got to kind of put it together. We don't know how she got here, but, like, this is who she is now. And so, yeah, I thought she was a great character.
To me, at least to me, Igor is tied for my favorite character of 2024. Like,
tied
with Paul Moadib Atreides from Dune 2. But they're one and the same. Like, that's like a really good epic, and for different reasons. But Igor is like just, he's just my favorite character, I think, of any movie that we've seen. Yeah,
I loved him. And again, I know the ending is open to interpretation, so I hear like the reviews that are like, no, he's literally just doing what all the other guys do. But I feel like Sean Baker was very intentional in the shots leading up to it. Like, even
Oh,
just, like,
yeah.
the airplane, like, back home. Like, he did not have to include that shot of, like, you hear a baby screaming their head off. And, like, he is still, like, how do I make sure she's comfortable?
He's in the frame every shot of those car rides.
Yeah.
Like, everything. He, like, just... And that, like, that goes for blocking. That goes for the cinematography and the framing of each shot. That goes for, like, set design, allowing that. It really is, like, really amazing. One of my favorite shots is... one of my favorite scene, I think, is him walking along the boardwalk, flipping the bat, and then he throws it over the side. Yeah. That's definitely my favorite scene. That made me laugh the hardest. But there's a scene right before that in, like, that candy store that they go and, like, bash up all the windows, where Igor is basically told to, like, start breaking things, and he just shatters the glass.
Just, like, so easily, too.
So easily, and he's just kind of shredded, and then he, like, lightly taps the bowl, and it shatters. And then just the way that it's framed and the way that everything is composed to show, he's, like, he shatters it and then takes a step back, and the main guy, the Armenian guy, comes up and is, like, talking to and gets handed the phone by the store clerk. And Igor is, like, framed in the back where he's just, like, hood up, like, inspecting the bat, leaned up like a really cool guy against the back. And he's just, like, so unaffected by this world. And he's so just like, I am here and I'm not getting emotionally pulled in. And I do not, like, versus the other two guys are like, rah, like, high strung, yelling all the time, really passionate and really, like, stressed out. And he's just like, I'm here to do my job and I'm gonna chill and, like, sort of reserve myself. It's really, I don't know why, just that shot to me was like, I love that.
And, like, he's very similar to Nora's character in some ways, because I don't remember if it was Mikey Madison or who it was, but somebody was saying, like, this movie is about a lot of different themes. Like, they were like, it's about power dynamics and, like, the working class. And if you think about it, like, Nora is doing things for her job that a lot of people probably wouldn't support. Like, hey, like, you shouldn't be using your body to get money. You shouldn't be doing this with these guys you don't know. Like, I'm sure there's people who are like, you shouldn't be doing that.
The moralistic.
Yeah. And again, like, she's, air quotes, like, successful. Like, she seems to be making a lot of money from it. She seems to, like, have regulars. Like, she seems good at her job, and, like, she's hustling. Like, she doesn't have a car. Like, she still has a roommate. Like, she's trying to make money really fast. And then you have Igor's character. He doesn't have a super nice car. He's living with his grandma. He's using his grandma's car. Like, both of these characters do not, it doesn't seem like they come from wealth, and yet they are, like, they're actions that you might not agree with. So, like, if you're like, that was messed up, like, Igor smashed everything. That. It's like, well, he was doing this to get a lot of money, I'm assuming, from these Russian guys. And so I think it's interesting, like, what it says about money and power, too, of, like, I don't think they loved what they were doing. Maybe they did. And
circumstance, too. Yes. I think, like, with both characters, there's things that about them that you can assume this is something that they were born into and was, like, normal for them. Like, they're both products of their environment, so to speak. Like, Nora doesn't give us much on her backstory, but I think just from knowing, like, that bus scene and her like transit and the home that she lives in and the interaction that she has with her roommate, like, this is like she's a product of this environment and this social class that she's brought up in. And then for Igor too, like, he's like, this is my grandmother's car, and he's Russian along with this family, and so
he's trying to hustle.
This is just the world that he lived in, and that this is all he knows. And yet he's a very calming, peaceful, content, character, which I'll disagree with you and say that Nora is not.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I just think, like, the way, like, their relationships with work and, like, status,
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, that's true.
Which is completely different from Vanya.
Yeah. What did you? There's no music at the end.
Yeah.
It was
I'm grateful.
no music at the end of Nora. No music at the climactic scene of Dune Part 2 either.
Huh.
The fight scene.
Really? Are
Yeah.
there no like droney noises?
There's no. You just hear the sounds of fists and knives hitting flesh.
Yeah,
Like
you
that's
know
all you hear.
There's a time for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating to me that both of our movies did that in a sense of like this is a scene that you have to sit with sort of with bated breath.
Mm-hmm.
You got to watch Honora make like sort of make a decision in this car that you're like,
I don't
like,
know.
yeah, like it's heart-wrenching, it's gut pulling. You're like, oh man. And then with Dune Part 2, it's like, oh my gosh, is he about to die?
Yeah.
Is this whole movie about to be in vain?
Mm-hmm.
Just thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
What would the prayer of this movie be? This is a tough one, I know. I think to me, looking at the contents of the movie, it's shining a light on the experience and mostly the perspective and the character nature of a lot of people that work in the sex worker industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think the movie's trying to justify the actions of these individuals, but I do think it's
at least like tell some of their story.
Tell some of their story and sort of show like the heartbreak that is involved in this. It's like Enora's not like a hero character. You're not like, wow, she did it at the end of the movie, you know? And you're not like, man, I wish I could live that life.
Yeah.
It's a realistic, you know, it's grounded in reality somewhat for the character at least. But I think too, it's just showing like the nature that brings a lot is hard. And you know, there's both sides to every story, and you have to see the vulnerability in someone first before you make a judgment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. I think on a whole other scale, we could say things about what it says about power. I don't know if this is answering the question, but I feel like this was like, here's the antithesis of like a holy marriage. Yeah. I remember we left thinking like, wow, like that was not a movie trying to say this is what marriage is about. And the reason I say that is because like it was a great film about like self-centeredness and like not having to apologize for anything as long as you are in power. And
yeah, you don't have to really care about anyone else as long as you are the one in power.
Yeah, like
that's very true.
The family that does this to Honora,
true. Like that's what this movie is.
Yeah, they don't
showing.
Feel bad. They don't apologize. They don't expect Vanya to apologize. And I remember talking to you about this, how like I think for those characters, in their mind it was, we already paid you. We don't owe you apologies. Like, we paid you for your services. Bye now. And it's like, gosh, that's so upsetting, because if you translate that to marriage and you kind of take on this, I put a roof over your head. Like, I don't have to apologize for doing that to you. I paid this bill. I, was here for you for this. Like, I don't owe you any apologies. And it's like, man, like, relationships aren't supposed to be transactional. It's not a matter of who has more debt than the other person, who owes more than the other person.
Yeah.
And like, this was an extreme example, but I do think it's like, wow, like even on a smaller scale, like you don't want to be in a marriage, like you don't want to be in a relationship like that, where even like the way he proposes to her, it's not like this romantic moment. It's, oh, I could be a citizen and I wouldn't have to go back and live with my parents.
Yeah. And then even then she has requirements, 15, 4K or whatever it is. 4 carats.
And so I think it was like, yeah, one, like an antithesis to like broken relationships. And also like, I don't think Igor was supposed to be like Christ. Like, he's not perfect.
No, yeah, no. But it is like, it is at least to me, it was a sign of like the antithesis of that self-sacrificial love, or not self-serving love.
Yeah.
Love that serves other, or just kindness that serves other people.
Yeah.
Has a ripple effect, and it really does a lot of, it really brushes up in conflict against somebody who does view love as transactional.
Right. Like, I especially feel that way with the shot where Vanya's mom is like talking down at Annie, and Annie's just kind of taking it, and it's dark. Or maybe it's when Vanya's talking down at her. Either way, they're about to get on that plane, and Honora's in this shadow, and like her makeup's all gone. She's tired. Like, she's just looking, and like it looks like she's trying to hold back either tears or just like anger. And she's in the shadow, and Igor's just like right behind. He's not doing anything. He's not pushing her to get on the plane. He's also not like, screw them, like, let's get out of here. Like, he's just there. He's always behind her too, which I think is interesting too. Like, it's not a matter of like, hey, go this way. Like, there's something about like him specifically being following her that feels more like a protective character rather than like, you need to follow like what I'm saying, you know? So he's not Christ. He's not perfect, but yeah, definitely like was a good opposite to Vanya.
Yeah.
So I know that doesn't answer the prayer question, but
no,
that was just...
Well, no, I think that does. What you said about this is an antithesis to what holy love or what holy marriage is built off. Like, you know, like it really does show the heartbreak that comes with that. There's parts of it that are really hard to watch. You're like, the yelling and the conversation at the end between Honora and the mom is like really brutal. And just like when Vanya kind of sobers up and is like, thanks a lot. Like, thanks for, we had a good time. Like, thanks for, and it's like, that's the scene you're talking about. Like, it
feels like you did what I paid you to do. Thank you.
Yeah. And it's hard to watch. You're like, oh man. Like, that's not what I wanted. Well, not what I'd hoped for this character. And this is going to be really devastating. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that answers the question perfectly.
Yeah.
What about for Dune 2?
I don't know, man. Everyone's like in fights. Everything's political. Everybody wants all the supplies.
Here's my take on the salvation story is that Dune 2 is
stealing everything from the Gospels.
No, it's really the apocryphal gospel of what would be if the Christ figure was a militant leader. Like,
if he was what they expected him to be.
Because in Jewish history, like a lot of people, like a lot of the Jewish people at that time thought this Messiah that was prophesied and foretold was going to lead us militarily against Rome and is going to take down Caesar by force. And that's not who Jesus was in the Gospels, and that's not who we believe him to be now. And I think in reality, the power was in laying down his life and in sacrificing himself for the good of others. That is where it comes from.
I think that's
in Dune. It's similar where there's these prophecies and this foretelling of the Savior, the one to come, the Moadib, this Kwisatz Alcatraz or whatever it was from the Bene Gesserit as well. They're the ones like sowing the seeds of this prophecy and this hope to come. And, you know, he's going to slay the emperor and take over and free the Fremen people. And I think what's really funny about it is that, like, in Jesus' story, he comes from royal descendants. Technically, he comes from the line of David. Yeah. And,
it comes from a really unexpected mother.
And in Dune, he comes from a royal family. He comes from House Atreides, but he also is like part of the Fremen people. So he's part of this royal thing. But he's human and divine. He's part of the world that they live in. The chosen one has to come from the world. He has to be human. And in the Bible, that's true. And then in the Dune part 2, it's like he has to assimilate to Fremen culture in order to understand how to free these people. how to harness these worms and the power of the sand and the culture that these people live in. And that's ultimately what allows him to like make the decisions that he needs to, which is to come up to challenge the Emperor, to do this duel, to fight the way that he fights Feyd-Rautha. Like that's how he's able to overtake the Emperor and all this huge military power, is by being part of that world, is from coming from that world, being born of the Fremen people, so to speak. And like the whole like he drinks the water of life or whatever, to me was sort of like he's taking on the death, because all that water's from people who have died. Let this cup pass from me. He drinks it and he takes on the death of all these people. He takes on the sins. Now it's not a perfect example of Finn, because he doesn't at the end. He's willing to sacrifice himself because he gets stabbed, but he doesn't die. And then he goes, and I realized too when we watched it for a second time, it's a heartbreaking decision for him to go, you know, I'm gonna marry this daughter of the Emperor so that I can take over.
Yeah.
One, the rest of the houses don't respect it, and they end up going to war after that. But then two, like the Bene Gesserit live on, and like these evil, like this ulterior power that's like trying to manipulate and gain access to this power lives on for a while. Which I don't know, maybe that is biblical. You know, death was defeated, but we live in a, you know, kingdoms here, but also not yet, here and now, not, you know. So I don't know. There's a lot of ways you could interpret it, but he is clearly the Christ figure, and it's
the Messiah.
He literally is the Messiah of the movie, and I think it shows a good example of like what things would be like if that was in a militaristic state. Yeah. So that's the salvation story in Dune 2. Yeah.
This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed watching Oscar nominees with you.
I did too. Okay. I think that's all of them. Is there any favorite line, favorite scene, favorite shot from any of these movies that you're like, that's going to stick with me for a while? Or is there a role that you would like to play? Would you want to play Honora?
No.
No?
No.
Would you want to play Joan Baez?
Yeah. That's what I was going to say.
You were going to say Joan Baez? Why is that?
Yeah. She's cool hippy dippy with a guitar. She just seems like a chill girl.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
I don't want to be anyone in The Substance, Emilia Perez. No? Wicked, if I could sing, that would be fun.
Yeah. I would be Ralph Fiennes's character in Conclave. That would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, or it would be fun to be Feyd-Rautha, the guy Austin Butler plays in Dune 2, the bald guy, the sicko. Would it be fun? Crazy psycho guy. I think that'd be so
weird.
Fun.
He's so creepy. Weird.
But like developing that and doing that makeup and sort of getting the rhythms and habits of that guy, I feel like that would be fun.
Yeah. I do think
it would be fun to play Igor too, if I was a Russian.
Yeah. I don't have a character I would want to play, but I think just to like, I know what I said about color. That was an editing issue. But I would love to be on the set of Wicked. Like, I feel like that would be such a fun movie to be involved in some capacity.
Yeah.
It's the most lighthearted out of all of these.
I know that it was probably Dune Part 2, but in some ways, Wicked seems like the most effort went into it. Like, it seems like that would be a lot of just the choreography, the timing. Like, do you record the music first and then sort of set the movie to the soundtrack? Do you shoot everything and then try to set the soundtrack to that? Do you do bits and pieces here and there?
I believe they shot everything, like the singing is like live in all of them, and then they just mixed which ones were their favorite. So they're not like lip syncing.
That seems like the most post-production editing out of all of them.
No, there's a whole interview. Ariana Grande got to help with the post mixing of Cynthia.
Dang.
Yeah. So like they were tired. They were tired.
And Nickel Boys seems like a lot of like thinking through of shots and how we're going to tell this story and sort of.
Yeah.
That seems like a tough one to walk through.
Yeah.
Which one out of these had the best music? Yawn.
Score or soundtrack?
Both.
Actually, I don't remember the score for any of them. That's the only reason I would have said Dune 2. Best soundtrack.
I really liked the Nickel Boys soundtrack. And I did like the Brutalist soundtrack. I will give it that. That the Brutalist soundtrack would be good writing music.
I feel like I have to say Wicked because I like the Wicked songs.
But you don't like the movie version of it. You like the Broadway version.
Correct. What if I said Amelia Perez?
Well, you would just have to re-edit everything we talked about earlier.
I'm drunk. I don't remember a lot of these that well. So I actually kind of like. No, I'm not.
A Complete Unknown?
No.
Well, no, I didn't like all of them.
Yeah, I'm not in love with any of the soundtracks. It's not even that I don't like them. They
didn't stick out to you.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Sorry.
No, that's fair.
A lame answer.
Well, congrats on winning.
Thank you. It was fun.
You beat me by a lot.
I did.
Not just in the best picture, but in all of the predictions.
Film, baby.
I was really hurt by that, not gonna lie. So, I love you.
I love you.
Thanks for watching.
This was fun.